All right, let's talk about these head coaching vacancies. The Dolphins are easily the least appealing job out of any job available right now. Outside of Achane and Waddle, what talent can you rely on the offensive side of the ball? You have to deal with this Tua Tagovailoa contract situation. What team's going to trade for him and take on that contract? You're going to have so much dead cap you're going to have to eat. The defensive line is solid with Sealer, Grant, Chubb, and Chop Robinson, but Jordan Brooks is a good player as well in that front seven. But the secondary is a joke. It's not exactly the fountain of youth over there either. Outside of Kenneth Grant and Chop Robinson, offensive line is a disaster. Quarterback is a disaster. Miami's the least appealing coaching job right now. I don't think it's close. And then what do we have 7 here? So slightly more appealing, but not as appealing is the Steelers, man. They have no young talent anywhere besides center and right tackle on the offensive side of the ball. The highest paid defense, but they weren't top 10 in scoring or total defense. The QB position is a disaster. The defense is not good. The weapons are a joke. Decent offensive line. Left tackle position's uncertainty. Broderick Jones sucks, and I don't even know who's playing it this year because Broderick Jones was on IR. They do have a lot of picks. They do. That's why they're above the Dolphins, but only 2 of them are in the top 75. 5 of them are in the top 100, but 3 of them are from 76 to 99. So they do have a lot of picks, but not a lot of them in the top 50. I think they have 2 picks in the top 50, only 2 picks in the top 75. So it's like they do have a lot of capital, do have a lot of draft capital, but it's in the middle. I think like a bunch of third rounders. Above the Pittsburgh Steelers is the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals are. I think the Arizona Cardinals is a sneaky. I think the Arizona Cardinals are sneaky a good head coaching opening. Dude, why am I suddenly getting like sick here? Either way, I think the Cardinals is a sneaky good destination for an offensive minded head coach because when you look at the pass catchers that they have there, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a top 5 group of pass catchers in the NFL. Michael Wilson was incredible down the stretch. Trey McBride's the best pass catching tight end in football. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s ceiling is basically limitless. And Kyler Murray, it's in there with Kyler. It is in there with Kyler. It's just the draft capital isn't exactly elite. Kyler Murray is definitely a question mark, but you know it's in there. He can throw the football. He can play like a top 10 QB in this league. And you look at the weapons that they have in Arizona, like some of these offensive minded coaches that are in the cycle, like Kevin Stefanski or I mean, I can't even say Cliff Kingsbury because he was there already. But either way, you should be licking your chops looking at the weapons you'd get to work with if you got to be the head coach in Miami. And then defensively, like Josh Sweat was a good free agent signing. They hit on Will Johnson. He looks like a legitimate corner. Like they have some guys on the defensive side of the ball. It's still very far away, but I think the Cardinals is a little bit of a sleeper, like maybe a more attractive head coaching destination than a lot of people give it credit for, simply because of how good their weapons are in the passing game with Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride. I would rather go coach for the Cardinals than the Steelers. Take away, obviously, the name value of Pittsburgh versus Arizona. The Browns, I have just above the Cardinals here. Very attractive because of all of the young talent and the draft capital, right? Easily top 10 defense in the NFL, could even be top 5 if they had an offense that could sustain a drive. They hit on so many picks this year. Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin, Carson Schlesinger, Mason Graham, all a bunch of studs. And they have 2 first-round picks this year, thanks to the Travis Hunter trade they did with Jacksonville. It's just they don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line, or they do have an offensive line. It's just aging. So like like if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to be as an appealing a job as some of the others, but you'll have ammunition to go and move up and get a quarterback, or you're probably not going to be very good next year, and you could take one in the 27 class. But you do have players. You do have good players. The Browns have good players on the defensive side of the ball, especially. They just probably need a wide receiver, some offensive line help, and a quarterback. But I think the Browns is a more attractive job right now than Arizona or Pittsburgh is, or definitely Miami for sure. Above the Browns, I have the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are in a similar spot as the Browns from a personnel standpoint. They hit on a lot of rookies this season on the defensive side of the ball, especially Xavier Watts, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. They have a young elite weapons, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They have one of the best offensive lines in football, but they don't have picks this year. They don't have a first round pick because they traded one of them for James Pierce Jr. with the Rams last year. And I'm not done with Michael Penix at all. He was very inconsistent this year. He had some horrible games, but he had some good moments. He definitely is accurate. I think because Stefanski, who has been rumored with Atlanta, would pay massive dividends in that because he runs an offense where it's spread offense, quarterback, good run game, quarterback play action. Let's pick these guys apart with your accuracy. You don't need to be super mobile. Play within the confines of the system with Stefanski, and I think Penix can do that. He's a very accurate quarterback, or at least that was the appeal with him coming out of Washington. I think the Falcons are a good landing spot because of how good this roster is, and I think they're a legitimate quarterback away from being a perennial contender, or not, maybe not contend. Yeah, I'd say that if you can get top 15 quarterback play out of Michael Penix, I think the Falcons defense is good enough and young enough where it's only going to continue to ascend, where they can be consistent in the hunt, divisional round, winning a playoff game or two, maybe even get to a Super Bowl if everything comes together and they nail the head coaching spot. That's how good, that's how much I believe in this roster, offensive line, weapons, young guys they have on the defensive line. Now they have a pass rush, they have a good secondary with Xavier Watts, Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, the rookie corner they drafted out of Georgia, I believe. Like, they are in a good spot. They just need a quarterback, or they just need a guy that can help develop Michael Penix, where he can take that next step and be a top 10 to 15 guy and not lose games for Atlanta. And I think they're going to be just fine, man. If they beat the Jets, they're in the playoffs this year. Above them, above the Atlanta Falcons, and now it just comes back. It's just basically just a quarterback rating for the most. But like now it's just like, which quarterback would I rather have? And I'd rather have Cam Ward than Fernando Mendoza. I would. I really would. But I was a lot higher on Cam Ward when he was coming out than a lot of people were. But I do put the Raiders above the Titans because the Titans roster is the worst in the NFL. Outside of Cam Ward, who I do have a lot of faith in, who's the best offensive player? I don't know if it's J.C. Latham. Has he been good? That's the only alignment I can think of. Tony Pollard. Like the two receivers, the two rookie receivers, none of them really emerged. Shimmy DK and Elike Omaner. Calvin Ridley's old, washed, either way. So it's like the offense sucks, but I love me some Cam Ward. And the defense is a joke as well. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed has regressed a lot as well. They don't have any edge rushers you can rely on. It's like the Titans just as a whole, I think they have the worst roster in the NFL, hands down. They don't have any good players outside of Jeffrey Simmons and Cam Ward, I guess. Even though I like Cam Ward, I think I mean, I don't know how you can watch Cam Ward and you don't think he has a higher ceiling than Fernando Mendoza. But Fernando Mendoza's floor is higher, and the Raiders have Brock Bowers. The Raiders have somebody for a young quarterback to throw the ball to. The Raiders have Max Crosby. Like, the Raiders have some type of talent. They have Ashton Genty. The Titans have no talent whatsoever. So even though I think Cam Ward's ceiling is higher than Mendoza's, I put the Raiders slightly over Tennessee as well. And I'd rather work with Tom Brady as a 5% owner than the Titans ownership group. So yeah. And then so I have the Raiders at 3, and the second best head coach opening right now, head coaching vacancy in the league. It's got to be the New York Giants. Like Jackson Dart is the guy. I think that, and the Giants have a lot of young talent to build around. The offensive line is pretty solid. They could use some help on the interior, but Andrew Thomas is one of the best tackles in football. Malik Neighbors is a stud, obviously. Wan'Dale Robinson had 1,000 yards. Tyrone Tracy and Scatterby will be a great 1-2 punch defensively. Your secondary needs a lot of work, no doubt about it. The linebacking core needs a lot of work. They were awful against the run, but they have established guys on the defensive line in Kayvon Thibodeau, in Dexter Lawrence, who did have a little bit of a down year, and then a guy who would be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate if he was on a good team, in Brian Burns, who I think established himself this season as a top 5 edge rusher in the NFL. If they can get some secondary help, if they can figure out how to stop the run a little bit, and I think this offense is really ready to go. Like, even if it's the same offense they rolled out this year, but with a good defense, I think this Giants team on an easier schedule than they had this year can win 7 or 8 or 9 games, or maybe even be the breakout team that we have every year, and they could win 11 games and go to the playoffs. Like, I do think the Giants offense is that good, where if they can stop the run a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball, Jackson Dart takes another step and they stay healthy. Why not this Giants team? Like, I think this is a great landing spot for any head coach, but it's not Lamar Jackson, right? It's not the Baltimore Ravens. And if you have a 2-time MVP, that's going to be the most attractive head coaching opening, obviously. So the Ravens are easily 1. So just to recap, I have the Ravens at 1, the Giants at 2, the Raiders at 3, the Titans at 4, the Falcons at 5, the Browns at 6, the Cardinals at 7, the Steelers at 8, and the Dolphins at 9. And a lot of it is just like, who's going to be the quarterback? That's got to be the number one thing. Like, if you're a head coach and you want a job, it's like, who is the quarterback? That's the number one thing you should be looking at. And I think I'd rather go to the Ravens with Lamar, or I'd rather go to the Raiders with Fernando Mendoza than the Steelers with a question mark. I'd rather go to the Titans with Cam Ward than the Browns with Shedeur Sanders and but all their talent on the defensive side of the ball. That's just really what it comes down to. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you. Go watch some other videos on YouTube. They'll be up in the recommended right now. Hit the like button as well. Support the boy. I'll talk to you guys later. If you're listening on Spotify, I appreciate you all. If you listen on Spotify and you don't hit the follow button, just do that. Leave a 5-star review for the boy too. Couldn't hurt. Only takes a second. I love you guys.